Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to our sort of live transfer news show. So, a lot of transfer news has happened today, and what basically has happened is that I was thinking, should I do a few reels, or should I just use this lunchtime period to kind of just go over the news and kind of just give my thoughts as it happens? So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go straight into it. We're gonna talk about all the great stuff that's happening in the transfer news period. So let's get right into it. Let's start off with Mason Mount, and what's going on there. So Mason Mount basically right now Chelsea are reevaluating the 55 million pound offer on the table. They wanted 65 million pounds. They're trying to play Manchester United to get 65 million pounds. United, to their credit, for a change, and this doesn't happen very often, but it's happened. Is United said we're not going over 55 million pounds. This is a take it or leave it offer. So they put that on the table. They walked away from this deal, so to speak. They're not renegotiating a new price, which I think is absolutely critical and very, very good. And so now Chelsea are evaluating, should we go back in and take that offer? And I think they should. I mean, for me, I don't think Mount is worth 55 million pounds. To be perfectly honest, he's not even worth 55 million pounds. He's definitely not worth 65 million pounds. Honestly, I think that United are already overpaying at this point. So you just got to go and say that So Chelsea now have to realize that yes, we got to come back to the table, because otherwise, Mount said he's not signing a new contract. He's not going anywhere else. So if you don't send me to Manchester United, I'm going to walk away for free. Chelsea probably don't want that with their financial situations and everything that's going around. So they're probably thinking, right, should we take this deal? And I think they should. Share your thoughts. Of course, do you think Chelsea should sell Mason Mount for 55 million pounds? Do you think Mason Mount should move to Manchester United? I mean, those are important questions to answer, but I think that should happen, and that's a deal that I think will likely move forward now, one way or another. But I also think United should probably put a deadline as well. I think that should happen as well. They've talked about putting a deadline. I think they should put a deadline, probably say end of the week. Like, you either accept offer at the end of the week, or we're moving on to somebody else. So I think that needs to be done, and I hope Manchester United do that, going and make that ultimatum to Chelsea, because now United have sort of gained control back of this transfer. It was kind of getting wild with Chelsea just asking more and more and more, but United now have kind of got control. And why that has happened is a good question, and I don't know whether it's PR spin, whether it's some kind of media pressure, but there was talk of Manchester United being interested in MOISES CAICEDO. Now Caicedo has been wanted by Chelsea for a long time, and was pretty much likely to go there. There was talk of Arsenal being interested, but that has kind of cooled down as well. So Moises Caicedo were interested. Brighton asking for 85 million pounds, which, when you think about Mason Mount being worth 65 million pounds, and I said this, if Mason Mount is worth 65 million pounds in Chelsea's eyes, then Brighton have every right to demand 85 million pounds from Moises Caicedo. I don't think Moises Caicedo is worth 85 million pounds. I think 70 plus add-ons that take it to 80 is a fair deal for Moises Caicedo. But if you're going to ask 65 million pounds for Mason Mount, you can't then go around and say, 85 million pounds is too much for Moises Caicedo. It's not. It's a fantastic. It's a good deal from that perspective. So for me, I think that made that deal, was kind of made sense from that perspective. But then Chelsea said, we're not paying 85 million pounds for him. We want a lower fee, which I don't know how low, meaning probably maybe they're looking at 75 million pounds probably. I think you can't really go lower than that, can you, for someone like Caicedo? But 75 million pounds. And from Chelsea's point, I think there was something that I will say is that they probably looked at Alexis McAllister, a World Cup winner, and has been phenomenal to their success. And he went for 35 million pounds. So they're probably thinking, well, is Moises Caicedo really double the player that McAllister is? Probably not. But then again, you have to remember that McAllister is not 35 million pounds. Liverpool have got a steal because of a release clause. It's only closer to the same price as, otherwise he was closer to the same price that Caicedo was. So there's all sorts of things. Transfer values are always very, very arbitrary, and there's no way to know what's going on. But again, that's a deal that could have happened. And I mean, again, what happened? What Manchester United did is they put out that maybe they're interested as well. They might want to sign Caicedo if you don't get Mason Mount, and that's a good thing. That I was hoping that they would do that. There's talk that Caicedo's the interest in Caicedo is not genuine from Manchester United. That was what was mentioned, and I think that's I think I didn't say this online, but I did mention this internally. I said, what? Even if they're not interested in Caicedo, just put it out there. Just put it out there. They're going for Caicedo. Just do it, because then Chelsea will realize that there is some seriousness to this, and it's a good way of making Chelsea go right. Of telling Chelsea, look, we want Mount, we like him, but if you're not going to sell him, we're not going to wait around. We've got other targets, and we can also go after other players, and so we can go after Moises Caicedo. So they put that out there, and it's fantastic that they've done that. Will Manchester United do the deal? I don't think they will. And I think it's purely financial. I don't think United have 80 million pounds to spend on Caicedo. I just don't think that. I don't think they do. Maybe if it was a structured deal where they pay like maybe 20 or 30 up front, and then and the rest in installments kind of thing, maybe it could be done. I'm not sure how amenable Brighton will be to that deal. But I honestly, I think he'll still go to Chelsea. I think Caicedo will still go to Chelsea. But the problem with that at the moment is, of course, Brighton's price tag, which I think will come down once Mount goes for 55 million pounds. I think maybe they'll be able to negotiate that and get that down. But more importantly, I think Caicedo wants to go to Chelsea, and Chelsea, they need the money. Once they have the money from the Mason Mount deal, then I think they will use that towards the Caicedo deal. So I think right now a lot hinges on what happens with Mason Mount, and that will determine where Moises Caicedo ends up. What also has been good, Manchester United put on, is that they're also interested in Mohammed Kudus from Ajax. Now, that was a player that's quite often been linked with a lot of clubs. I mean, there's quite a few clubs that are interested in Kudus. It keeps changing. And then Chelsea were mentioned at one point. I think Brighton are definitely interested in Mohammed Kudus. And so he's someone who's attracted the interest of quite a few clubs. And now apparently Manchester United are also interested. He's not a priority signing. They're not in pole position, but they are considering, which is the same as saying that, it's one of those silly transfer rumor thingies that keeps happening, that keeps going around. I honestly don't think that deal will happen as well. From Manchester United point of view, I think he will go to Brighton. I don't think he will go to Manchester United again, because I don't think United have 45 million pounds they can spend on Mohamed Kudus unless the deal for Mason Mount falls through. Now, if Mason Mount falls through, there is a chance that Mohamed Kudus will go to Manchester United. But I think if the Mount deal goes through, which I expect it will this week, then I think Kudus will not be an option. If you ask me to rate a priority, and you can share your priority, who do you think is who do you want? But for me, I think it's got to go. You go with Caicedo as your first choice, then Kudus, and then Mason Mount. And I've not watched much of Kudus. I haven't, so I'm not going to sit here and say that he's a world-class player or anything like that, because I haven't seen much of him at all. But just the fact that he's only about 45 million euros, that's the price tag, 45 million euros. So you're getting him for 40 million pounds. I don't think he's that bad, that much worse than Mason Mount. I don't rate Mason Mount. And I've said this multiple times. I don't rate Mason Mount at all. I think he's, for the price tag that they put on him, he's not a 55 million pound player. He would have been a good signing at 30 million pounds, because keep in mind, he's going to be a bench warmer at Chelsea next season. He's going to be a rotation option. He's not going to be a starter for Chelsea next season. If they get Moises Caicedo, they've got Enzo Fernandez. Then in a 3-4-3 that Chelsea will likely play, where do you see Mason Mount? He doesn't play as a central midfielder. He doesn't start ahead of Enzo Fernandez or Moises Caicedo. So he'll be rotating in and out of the team. Unless they go with the 4-3-3, unless Pochettino decides, I want to play 4-3-3, which he doesn't usually play 4-3-3. But if he decides, then maybe I see my Mason Mount in there. Maybe. Depends on who else Chelsea will sign. But he's not a starter. He's not a starter in 3-4-3 for Chelsea. So he's a bench warmer for a club that finished 12th last season. A mid-table bench warmer. That's what I call him, which is what he is. And at Manchester United too, he'd probably be a rotation option. He cannot be a starter, particularly in the big games. You can't start Casemiro and Mount alongside Bruno. So how do you see him as anything other than a 30 million pound player? I don't know. I don't rate him. So therefore, I see Mohamed Kudus as a better option, because at 40 million pounds, he's not that expensive. He's someone who would be okay being a rotation option, and someone who would benefit from being at the club. So that's where I stand. But obviously, Caicedo would be the first choice. I would say with Declan Rice, but I don't think that's going to happen. But Caicedo, I don't think Caicedo or Kudus will go. I think it will be Mount who will get in. That's typical of where Manchester United are. But anyway, that's Kudus has been. We'll keep an eye on that, of course, and see if there's any more information that will come up for that one. And speaking of Declan Rice, now that's a deal that, by the way, share your comments, of course, and share your priority list as well as to what do you think. But let's talk about Declan Rice. I mean, there's somebody else as well as I want to talk about, but let's talk about Declan Rice. Now, that's a deal that's gone completely quiet, right? Last week, there were so many rumors. There were 3 clubs that were interested. Manchester City were going to make a bid. Arsenal had made a bid that was already rejected. Manchester United were about to come in and make a bid as well. I think the Manchester United links have now kind of gotten silent. And I think the reason for that, for me at least, I think the reason for the Manchester United links going silent is definitely the fact that I think that was just paper talk. Maybe there was some thought of, well, can we put in McTominay? Can we put in Maguire? And I just feel that maybe one of those players have said that they don't want to go to West Ham. And when they've said they don't want to go to West Ham, that deal just falls apart, doesn't it? So I think Manchester United's deal is kind of fallen apart. They were trying to include Anthony Elanga in that deal, and I just don't see how Anthony Elanga can go into that deal. So that deal has fallen apart from Manchester United's perspective. Apparently, Arsenal and City will both make new bids this week. They will send in new bids to West Ham. Where will he end up? It's a tricky one. I think he will still go to Arsenal. I think if Arsenal's bid is accepted by West Ham, he will go to Arsenal. And so therefore, I think he will go to Arsenal. I just feel that City at the moment sometimes that happens, right? When you're too successful as a club, and City are very successful as a club, you sometimes don't get all the players that you want, because players sometimes think, well, maybe I should go to Arsenal because they're the club on the up. They're the ones. If I can win a league title with Arsenal, that will make me legendary. If I win a title with Manchester City, I'm another player who's won a title with Manchester City. So I think he will go to Arsenal as long as Arsenal can stump up the cash. And that's going to be the key. Are Arsenal going to stump up the cash? I'm surprised West Ham have not demanded £100 million, but I think that may be the next, because they were thinking about 75 plus 15, which is 90. I thought they would get closer to 100, and maybe they will still want that. But it is interesting to see where how that deal goes. But I do believe that he will end up at Arsenal. That's my personal opinion. Share your comments, of course. Let me know where do you think he will end up. But yeah, I would be surprised if he ends up at Manchester City. I would be surprised if he ends up at Manchester United too. I just think that that's where his mind is now on Arsenal. But we will see what happens with that deal, of course. And then there's Adrian Rabiot, continuing the trend of midfielders. Adrian Rabiot. So Juventus have offered him a new contract, which he's out of contract this summer. Of course, at the end of this month he will be a free agent. And so Juventus have offered him a new contract. There was talk that Juventus weren't interested. There was a lot of talk that he wasn't interested in staying in Juventus, and then Juventus offered him a contract, which he was reportedly close to signing. But now what we're hearing is that Manchester United have also offered him a contract, and that they are interested in signing him. Now, Manchester United were interested in signing him last season as well, by the way, before they went for Casemiro, and then that deal fell apart because of wages. They've gone back in again with an offer, and they've also offered a substantial commission to his agent, who is his mother. So I think they're trying to get all their ducks in a row and trying to keep all their bases together so they can get that deal done. I think the deal for Rabiot, if it could happen to Manchester United. I do think it will happen. I think if United make a good offer, which I think they will, the choice between Juventus and Manchester United, it's easily about Manchester United, because they've got Champions League football, they play in the Premier League, you get much better visibility, much more exposure. So I see him going to Manchester United over Juventus, as long as his wage demands are met, which I assume Manchester United will match them. And I think that's the way that it will turn out. And that's one of the reasons why I don't think the Caicedo deal will happen, or the Kudus deal will happen, because once you've got Mason Mount and Adrian Rabiot, there's no point in signing Moises Caicedo. And Adrian Rabiot, even though he's not as good a player as Moises Caicedo is, he will be the preferred option, because we know United always like to save on cash. So and it makes sense as well. You can't sign if you only have whatever £150 million to play with. You can't sign two players for £130 million and then expect to sign all the other players that they need to sign. So I do see the deal for Adrian Rabiot going through, because that saves them money on transfers. It's a free transfer, so they can get two midfielders for about £50 million. That's fantastic. If you're a Manchester United exec, are they good enough? Are they upgrades? I think they are upgrades on McTominay and Fred for sure. I think they're better than. I think both of them are better than McTominay and Fred, and I will say that about Mason Mount as well. He's a better player than McTominay. He's a better player than Fred. Are they the kind of signings that will take Manchester United into being title challengers? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they are. I don't think they will make Manchester United title challengers. They might make them top 4 contenders, because at this moment in time, what the squad currently looks like, I don't even think they will finish top 6. But if they get them, then I think they will be top 4 contenders. Not top 4 finishes, but top 4 contenders. So it's still an upgrade, not quite the upgrade that you would want as a fan, but it's an upgrade on what they have. So that's something. But like I said, we'll see and wait and see what happens. But I feel Rabiot will go to Manchester United. I think that deal will be done, because it's a deal that Rabiot probably wants. It's a deal that Manchester United are very, very interested in. So I see that going through. So that's Rabiot. That's done. And of course, do smash a like on this video, by the way, if you enjoyed it, and do subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All the links are in the description. Really appreciate your support, and if we get want to continue doing these, if you like them, do let us know. If we get more likes, we'll do more of these live shows as well. I mean, I do reels all the time, I do record shows, of course, but I'm happy to do live shows as well if I know people really enjoy it and want to watch it. So do share your thoughts, of course, in the comment section. And then we'll leave this whole midfield saga for a bit, and we come to Jurrien Timber, another player that's the transfer race has heated up for him. Arsenal are interested. It's not a race, actually. The transfer news has heated up. Arsenal are interested in Jurrien Timber. There was a first bid that was rejected, which was around £30 million. And I think Ajax want between £40 and £45 million for the player. Personal terms have already been agreed with Jurrien Timber. Apparently, he's flying to London for a medical. I don't know how true this is. And sometimes you get all these, aeroplane shots and aerial views and things like that. But I'll pretend to believe that is true. So it's looking likely that deal will be done quickly. I expect that Arsenal will match the price that Juventus are, that Ajax are asking. I see no reason why Arsenal wouldn't want to pay, 40 million pounds for Timber. For one, I think, he was linked with Manchester United last season, so there was a little bit of interest, from that perspective. I don't think he'll be going there this season, but there was interest. So he's a good player. He's someone who can play an Arteta system. Arsenal desperately need another centre back, because after what happened with William Saliba in the last season, where they lost him, and suddenly they had to start relying on Rob Holding. I think that having somebody like Timber in the side will be good. He's of course very very fast. He can also play right back, so he can also cover for Ben White or Tomiyasu, I guess, when needed. So he's got that multi position option. What I also think is good. It's a price tag. 40 million pounds for a third centre back is not a bad deal. I mean, it's really not a bad deal. He's young. He's got a lot of potential. He can improve. Yes, he's not world class, so he's got areas that he needs to work on. But he's someone who can do quite a few different things. And he's someone, of course, who's coaching that pressing style that Arteta likes. So he's a player who I think could seamlessly fit into Arsenal's system. And I can see him doing really well. Again, he's also a centre back who's not very tall, like Martinez. But we saw how well Martinez played. So I mean, there's no reason to think that Timber couldn't have that same sort of impact. And of course, he was part of the Netherlands World Cup squad as well. So he's got that international experience as well. So all in all, it's a good deal. I think they should look to do it, and they should try to complete it as soon as possible. Like I said, I don't see any other club going in for him at the moment. But still, if you're a club, you want to always get deals done quickly. So I'm assuming that deal will have some movement on that this week, maybe the next couple of days as well. Then we might start seeing some movement on that, like some sort of announcement. So keep an eye on that one. But it could be a wonderful deal for Arsenal if it goes through. Urin Timber, of course. And then there is a few other bits and bobs. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, another player that's been linked with an exit to Chelsea. So many players being linked with exits to Chelsea from Chelsea. AC Milan are interested. Now, AC Milan were interested in him while Maldini was the director of football. And obviously, I think he was one of their priority signings for the summer. I'm just going to take a sip of water. Yeah, let's continue on that. So, Ruben Loftus-Cheek was linked with AC Milan while Maldini was there. And then that deal kind of stalled because Maldini left Milan, as we all know. And the new management were going to decide if they wanted to approach Loftus-Cheek, but now they've decided that yes, we do want to approach Loftus-Cheek, and so they are interested in Loftus-Cheek. 15 million euros is the price tag that has been mentioned, and Chelsea are open to selling the player. Is 15 million euros the right value? I think it is, because he's not really in Mauricio Pochettino's plans. It hasn't really worked out for him at Chelsea in some ways, hasn't he? He's won a few trophies here and there, but never quite nailed down the place that he should have. And of course, it's not helped that he's had to play like different positions every time. Sometimes playing right midfield, and sometimes playing central midfield, sometimes playing something else. So right wing back sometimes. So it hasn't helped him. And so maybe a move to another country, to another league, will probably benefit him a lot. And he'll probably look at Tomori and how well Tomori has done at Milan, and he'll be thinking, you know what, I could probably do something there as well. I could probably have a decent time there, and maybe do well at a different club. So and maybe a slower pace in Serie A might also benefit him. So it's a good move for everyone. I think Chelsea should consider it. I hope he does go to Milan. I always like when English players go abroad and do well there. So I hope he does consider the move to Milan. And of course, Milan do need a midfielder now because they need to replace Sandro Tonali. I don't think Loftus-Cheek is at the level of Sandro Tonali, but they do need midfielders to replace him. So it will be a good deal for them as well. So that's something that, again, to keep an eye on. Expecting that will be announced also. Not announced, but at least that will be moving very, very quickly. And then staying in Serie A, Cesar Azpilicueta, as just we have learned, is likely to move to Inter Milan as well on a free transfer. That, I think, personal terms have been agreed. It was just a matter of Chelsea trying to see if they could do it, and I think they will now let him go on a free transfer. So that deal also is likely to happen quickly. I feel like it's almost like the Chelsea transfer show as well, because so many links to Chelsea. Chelsea seem to get linked with all sorts of players and all sorts of names, and it's just unbelievable that the amount of people that are and players that they're trying to sign and trying to sell. It's just like Chelsea just have something that goes on there, and it's just unbelievable what's going on. But anyway, by that one should go to as well. And just as we started the show, of course, Fabrizio Romano mentioned that City will be talking with RB Leipzig for Josko Guardiola. Again, another player that we spoke about this yesterday, that the in the wheel, of course, that the talks are heating up for him. So I expect, again, movement there. 100 million euros is the price tag. I think that's they want at least 100 million euros, and they want to make him the most expensive centre back in the world. That's the idea. It's difficult for me. Again, I've not seen much of him this season. I'll be honest with that. He's someone who's very, very highly rated, and obviously has done well at Leipzig. Is he worth 100 million euros plus? I don't know. I don't know, but maybe they can work out a structure where they do sort of add-ons. So maybe with add-ons they'll probably get up. Now what they were doing was City had offered a 120 million euro bid, but that included things like sell-on clauses and add-ons, and sell-on clauses are always a little bit tricky, because what if Guardiola fails and then you don't get the value that you think that you're getting? Or what if he never leaves Manchester City? What if he stays at Manchester City and then goes on a free transfer? Then you get nothing, right? So I don't think sell-on clauses is a good way to judge a value of a transfer when you're trying to buy them. But I think they will need to do more add-ons. Maybe will City pay that price? I think they will, because they do need another defender. They're looking to replace Laporte, so they will probably look to sign another defender. And I can see them doing this deal again. City as someone who normally do one marquee signing every transfer window, and then they sign a bunch of small cheap players. Kovacic costs 25 million pounds. It's not a lot of money that they for them. So I think they will do the deal. Will they do it sort of with add-ons more, and then and probably the structure of the deal will probably be required? But I see that happening. I see Guardiola going to Manchester City, and Guardiola knows what that would mean for the rest of the league, because they lose one good defender, they're replacing him with the potentially world class defender. So let's see how that one goes. Smash a like for Manchester City if you like that deal, and do share your comments, of course, about that. But yeah, I see that happening. It might not happen this week though. I think it will take maybe another week or two. But yeah, that deal I think also will probably happen. But again, we'll keep posted, and we'll see what happens there. And then finally, we'll just end the small one. Daniel Amas has signed for Manchester United from Watford, under 16 left back, unlikely to play for the club for at least 2-3 years. Probably won't even never play for the club, and probably just move on loan, go on loan somewhere, and then get sold. But at least it's a deal that's been done, that they've signed him for the under 16s team. Someone who could possibly, hopefully he'll do well as well. But yeah, just a quick note on that. And right, I mean, that I think pretty much covers it. Are there any other transfer news that you want me to talk about? You can let me know in the comment section. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else coming along. By the way, just one last note as well. I'm sure you guys all saw the Manchester United transfer list, right? All the prices that we mentioned was leaked. I don't know if it's real, if it's fake, but it was leaked, all the transfer amounts. And somebody, Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay, 40 million pounds. That was the one that jumped out to me, and it jumped out to everyone. And I joked about it. I said, is this 40 million pounds that the other club has to pay, or is this 40 million pounds that United will pay to the club to take those players? Because I mean, McTominay, I can see kind of a value for around 30 million pounds. I can see it because he's British. He does play well for Scotland. He's a midfield. He plays well for Scotland. He's a good. If he plays as a number 10 or as a goal scoring number 8, he's decent enough. The problem is people keep thinking he's a central defensive midfielder, which he's clearly not. But if you play him as a box to box number 8, goal scoring number 8, or as a number 10, he's good enough. He can justify a 30 million pound price tag because he's British. He's got that. Harry Maguire, 40 million pounds is completely ridiculous. I don't think I often think Harry Maguire, 20 million pounds is the only reason Harry Maguire is 20 million pounds is because he's British. If he wasn't British, nobody would want to even buy him. And then just not putting a 40 million pound price tag on his head is just ridiculous, because nobody's going to pay 40 million pounds for Harry Maguire, particularly when you consider his wages. Nobody's going to pay 200,000 pounds a week to Harry Maguire either. So I just don't know where they got this ridiculous valuation from of 40 million pounds. And what I'm thinking is that I think Harry Maguire, if I'm not mistaken, Maguire is in the last year of his contract, isn't he? Because he came in 2019 on a 5-year deal. And he's in the last year. Probably he's got 2 more years. They've got the option of another year if they want to take it, but he's got 1 year left on his deal. Surely a player in the last year of his contract can never be worth 40 million pounds anyway. And then it's Harry Maguire. It's a player who's a bench player for Manchester United. He's not very good. Honestly speaking, aside from Luton, I don't think any of the Premier League clubs should even be looking at him as an option. So I just don't know. I just know how United came up with the 40 million pound valuation. Maybe they looked at Chelsea going, well, if Mount is worth 65 million pounds, sure, he's worth 40 million pounds, but it's just ridiculous to me, isn't it? But anyway, share your thoughts. Of course, do you think that's a decent price tag for Maguire? I don't think it is. I think it's 20 million pounds, and only because he's English. That's where his valuation comes from. But I don't know. I don't know the answer. But anyway, share your thoughts, of course. Anyway, I think that concludes our show. We'll stop here. I always love to talk, but we're gonna end this video here. Do smash like if you enjoyed this whole sort of roundup. We're not an ITK. Like I've always said, I'm not an ITK, so I don't have any insider sources. This is just news that I get from everywhere else, and we collect this, and I just give my reaction to it. That's how it works. But do smash a like if you enjoyed this show. Do subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We appreciate your support of course in growing this channel, and we'll do more of these videos. And if you like them, do let us know in the comment section. So if you like this sort of live format, let me know. I'm happy to do more of these, of course, and we'll try to get more guests as well. It's difficult to get them on weekdays. We'll try to get more guests whenever we can. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you again very, very soon.